He has won the Special Jury Award for the Best Film at MIFF 2016. His third documentary, Checkmate, In Search of Jiri Menzel, is an exploration of Czechoslovakian New Wave. He went on to collaborate on 2 Restorian projects with Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Foundation. So sorry about that. He went on to collaborate on 2 restoration projects with Martin Scorsese, World Cinema Foundation, Uday Shankar's Kalpana, and Dr. Lester James, that premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in 2012 and Venice Film Festival in 2013, respectively. FHF has been restoring forgotten gems of Indian cinema, including Aravindan Govindan's Kummati and Tham, Arimbam Siang's Sharma's Ishan No, Sham Benegal's Manthan, Satyajit Ray's Aranya Din Ratri, Shumitra Perez's Sri Lankan film Gehenu Lamai, Bimal Roy's Do Bigha Zamin, and Ramesh Sippy's Sholay. Ms. Sathya Saran has been best known for her long association with Femina, which she edited for 12 years. She is also the author of a diverse variety of books. The dark side reflects her love for the short story, while the critically acclaimed biographies, 10 Years with Guru Dutt, Abraz Alvi's Journey, San Mere Bandhu Re, The Musical World of S.D. Burman, and Baat Nikli Gi To Fir. The life and music of Jagjit Singh bear testimony to her love for cinema and music. She has also written biographies of P.T. Hariprasad Chaurasia and Ritu Nanda. She has translated Caged, a book of poem by Gulzar. Her next book is on poet and lyricist, on the poet and lyricist Shivendra. She is currently a consulting editor with Penguin Random House and also teaches fashion journalism at NIFT. Besides, she is the India correspondent for Miss Magazine, USA, and a columnist for the New India Express and Hindu Business Line. Can we have an applause for her, please? With them, we have Anuurag Poddar, who will be moderating the session, who is an alumnus of La Martiniere and St. Xavier's College and a businessman by profession. Anuurag Poddar is a Hindustani classical music and a keen vocalist who has been pursuing his hobby as under Pandit Mohan Lal Mishra and Pandit Deepak Mishra of the Benares Gharana. A movie buff watching monochrome films of Bollywood is what his interest is on. He has grown up idolizing icons like Mohammad Rafi, Shammi Kapoor, Guru Dutt, and Raj Kapoor. Lastly, हर एक रूह प्यास निगाहों में दुनिया में उदासी ये दुनिया है याल में बद हवासी ये दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या है ये दुनिया अगर मिल भी जाए तो क्या है. And that's our topic for today. And you can complete your introduction for Nasreen. I'm so sorry. I was too eager to sing Rafi Saab. No problem. We'll just do Nasreen ma'am's introduction. She's been born in India and she lives in London, has made several TV series for Channel 4 UK on Hindi cinema, including Movie Mahal, In Search of Guru Dutt, Lata Mangeshkar in her own voice. She has worked and done biographies with Lata Mangeshkar, Gulzar, Javed Akhtar, Wahida Rehman, Zakir Hussain, amongst others. She has been curating Channel 4's annual India film season since 1982. Her latest publication is a diary titled The Legacy of Guru Dutt to mark the filmmaker's 100th birth anniversary. She's also an established subtitler, having subtitled over 820 films from Hindi to English, with restored versions of Sholay and a selection of web series including Dahad, IC 814 and the Kandahar Hijack.
we'd love to welcome you to the Kolkata Literary Meet.
Okay. She made my job so much more easier. I was wondering what to speak about all of you. So, the topic as it reads today is the melancholy and magic of Guru Dutt Sahab. So when the topic was first given to me, it was the melancholy of Guru Dutt, and I was said, okay, that's a very interesting topic. And then when the final poster came, I said they added the work, the melancholy and magic. Now that really broadens the scope of Guru Dutt Sahab's work. But to begin with, if we speak about melancholy, we all know that he has actually taken and picturized melancholy on Indian cinema like no other person has, and the three of you, are the perfect validation for that. But when we speak of melancholy, there are three films which immediately come to mind, Pyasa, Kagaz Ke Phool, and Sahib Bibi Aur Gulam. Individually, if I were to ask you, which one would you feel would be your pick from these three to depict melancholy the way it is? Which one would that be? Sathya, would you like to go?
Well, I would think it is Kagaz Ke Phool, because it left me feeling melancholy by the time I finished watching it. So that's like the most direct communication of mood that anything can have.
Yeah, I mean, see, it's difficult in Guru Dutt's case. What you really see in Guru Dutt is, I mean, I would like to add my interpretation, because you got the authority here, Nasreen, who interacted so much, and Sathya also worked with Agar. But I think because of the research I did, and I was very keen to make a film on Guru Dutt, I think Guru Dutt never allowed you to really find it in one film, because he was always searching. And that's why a title of a book is In Search of Guru Dutt, because that's Guru Dutt about, because whether you see it in Shades of Pyasa or in Sahib Bibi Aur Gulam or in Kagaz Ke Phool. Kagaz Ke Phool, it is, for a filmmaker, it's the ultimate, because it's a reflection of what he went through as a filmmaker and his own relationship. But Guru Dutt is not just in one film. It's difficult to define him in one film. And it is difficult for me to choose because he embodies a kind of a search which is there in several of his films.
I would agree with both of them that it's very difficult to actually talk about somebody as if they were one thing. And as Shivendra says, that he was in all his films. But if what we have to do, Anuurag, is also look at what is melancholy. Melancholy itself is a yearning for something that you will never attain. So in Pyasa, he wants a publisher, but if he got a publisher, I doubt it would make any difference to him. And in Kagaz Ke Phool, he wanted to make the perfect film, maybe, and then that escaped him. Sahib Bibi Aur Gulam was not really as close to his personality because it's based in, as you all know, a very well-known, famous Bengali novel. But melancholy itself is a striving, and as you said, a search for something that you can't either define or you ever attain. And Guru Dutt, I think his enduring appeal is that we can all connect to that. We all want something in life, whether it's love or a job or a holiday in Japan or whatever you want, and you can never reach it. If you reached it, you would realize it's not enough.
So, if when I was watching Pyasa anew this time, there's a very striking resemblance which I saw. There is a lot of symbolism which I saw in Pyasa. You know, the first scene where he is lying down on in a garden and he's humming some lines, and he sees a bee which is suddenly, he's in a very happy mood, and suddenly he sees that bee being trampled upon and killed and crushed. And then we go to the penultimate scene of the movie, where again he is being in that where he refuses or he denies that, okay, I am not the poet that you think I am. And there again, he's being trampled upon. And again, the last scene where he goes to, when he's speaking to Mala Sena and he says, मुझे नफरत है या मुझे एतराज़ है, शिकायत है, that's right, मुझे शिकायत है उनसे जो जिंदा आदमी को दफनाते हैं, पैरों तले रौंदते हैं और मुर्दों को पूछते हैं. So there is so much of symbolism which you see, and there is so much of melancholy which he carries through his entire film in Pyasa. I mean, so for me as a film, as a normal film watcher who's seen Guru Dutt films, ever since I grew up, Pyasa stands out for me personally. Scenes where, he is being fooled by that one counterfeit coin which is given to him, and then he does not even know that his mother is dead, and he sees his brothers performing his mother's shraddh. So there, I could associate with melancholy at every fold, at every spectrum of the film. You hardly get a chance to get a breather there. Yes, of course, but for the songs which are there. And now coming to the songs, do you think Pyasa would have been Pyasa what it is without the music of Pyasa or the lyrics of Pyasa? Yeah. Anyone can take it. Yes.
I'll pass the mic on. I think Pyasa without Sahir Saab would not be Pyasa, because Sahir Saab gave the film its intellect, its emotion, its political leanings, and it's all expressed in very everyday language. Of course, there are some songs, or you all know that some of the songs came from the poems that were much harder and much more Persianized Urdu, and Sahir Saab dumbed them down so that it would be understandable to the audience. However, you take away the songs and you don't have much left. The dialogue does not carry the weight of his emotions, of Vijay the poet's emotions. It's the songs that convey that emotional, political and social commentary. His songs like Jin Hai Naaz Hai is a very hard-hitting song, and I don't know even if today you would be able to have a song like that in a film. I'm not convinced you would. But he questions everything, and those questionings of society comes through the music. In Pyasa,
I will add something else, which Nasreen has already said, the most important thing. I don't know how many of you know, and it's also in Nasreen's book. I think isn't the chapter on Van Gogh there? Yeah. So Guru Dutt, all my research he was obsessed with Van Gogh, and one of the things he was obsessed with, that Van Gogh in his lifetime could never get recognition, or could never sort of get that what he wanted. And if you look at the story of Pyasa, which one of the drafts which Arun shared with me, which is supposedly written, and you would be, because you interacted with Abrar Saab, Guru Dutt had already written when he came back from Prabhat, where he worked as a choreographer and assistant, and when he came to Bombay, he wrote that script for Pyasa, the concept for Pyasa, and he was obsessed with Van Gogh and as an artist. So I think it was almost that his career, he wanted to make Pyasa. The rest, because Murthy Saab told me, and I interacted with Murthy Saab, and Murthy Saab kept telling him, first you make these other films, Aar Paar and all those, and these are all fabulous films. But he was 31, at the age of 31, he finishes making Pyasa. And isn't that incredible? I mean, he was actually just waiting to make Pyasa. And it's the same, the story of a poet who doesn't get recognition in his lifetime. Poetry was well within his father, who used to scribble on newspapers, and when he was in Burma Shell and all that kind of stuff. And there was and it's the only filmmaker, as a filmmaker I'm saying, who dared to make of a script which was like his own perceptions, his own dreams, his own kind of search. I do not know any other filmmaker who's ever made a film. We've had great filmmakers, but nobody like Guru Dutt who attempted to make a film which is almost a self-assessment or it's like a portrait Van Gogh doing of himself. And the character of Van Gogh, or Van Gogh himself, is played by Guru Dutt. What happened if Van Gogh came alive, and when his paintings are being sold in that kind of money, his own relations will try and prove that he's dead. And that's what the whole point of that film was. And Sahir Saab, of course, Guru Dutt being very quiet and a very thing, it almost looked like that Guru Dutt is saying those words. It just came from within. You know, it's just magical what he wrote. To write the feeling, Nasreen, I don't know how that sessions would have been, Guru Dutt explaining to Sahir what he wants to write that, because it almost looks like that Sahir got that feeling from.
I think you're absolutely right, but bear in mind that Guru Dutt's Urdu was not very good.
Yes, that's what.
So that he would actually have gone through Raj Khosla. Raj Khosla was the Sahir fan, and he would explain the things to Guru Dutt about what Sahir's words were.
And let me ask you one more question on this. What happened if Dilip Kumar would have said yes to Pyasa? Then the film would have been something else. Yeah. Dilip Kumar, and I believe, after having researched, and this is my thing, that even though he went and took the script to Dilip Kumar, who's very fond of poetry and Urdu and all those kind of things, I always felt that he was like an artist trying to do a self-portrait. He always, because in the later part of the years, there are a lot of selfies, what you would call. With his own cameras, he's taking a lot of photographs of himself. So I always found that in Guru Dutt. Very interesting, would never like to come for a premiere, like Barua, like PC Barua, who never attempted a single premiere of his. He would run away to Germany and those kind of things. Guru Dutt also had that similar, never liked Shusha. Yes. So I would love to know from,
So that is why the story of Pyasa was initially conceived to be that of a painter. Was it because of his obsession with Van Gogh? Okay. In her book, yes.
Yeah, I think yes, the painter became a poet because they said, how do we translate, the music and lyrics will add, and then he could choreograph the whole thing, which was his passion. But I think also without, the music adds to it because, as you said, Nasreen, it tells you the inner thoughts of the poet whom Guru Dutt is showing, and his own thoughts somewhere slip into it. His own life is slipping into it. His own need for acceptance is slipping into it. And then he knows, while he's making the film, that it's a risky film. I mean, he made CID alongside, so that if this failed, he still has enough money to pay his unit. But I think, I don't know whether Sahir and he sat together, because Sahir was, a little bit of a firebrand himself. And he might have, maybe Abrar was the medium in between, or maybe Raj Khosla was, maybe he told him and he went to, they could handle him. But I think, even if you look at Pyasa, you look at even Kagaz Ke Phool, the songs hold, and then every song tells the story. It takes the story forward. It's not music for music's sake. So he used them as ways to take the story forward. They were tools in his hand, but they were also very deep insights into emotion. I think it's very important.
So, in fact, coming to you, Satyaji, I was reading your book, and there we see this deep association between Abrar Alvi Saab and the real-life character Gulabo. So, Gulabo probably comes in later into the script, does she? After Abrarji meets with her, or was the character of Gulabo always a part of Pyasa?
See, I only know what Abrar Saab told me, and he said that there was a story of Pyasa which Guru Dutt had with him, and it was based on Chetna Art Gallery. I mean, Chayaji. Though no, Chayaji is not that kind of person, he clarified, but looking at her and the way she handled everything and the way she handled artists, he thought of a character who would pick up artists, nurture them, get close to them, and then drop them. So maybe he would have been one of those artists, we don't know. And then when Gulabo came into Abrar's life and he mentioned that story to Guru Dutt, he said, let's bring her into the story because it completely dovetails with the original idea and we can, kind of weave through this. So that's how Gulabo came.
So there is this very interesting anecdote in your book, where, and which leads into that song, Jine Naaz Hai, Hind Par Wo Kahan Hai. I would like you to, speak about that incident.
Well, they've just finished Mr. and Mrs. 55 and they are in search of a new subject. And somebody tells them there is this film in Hyderabad which is doing very well, Missy Amma, and let's go watch it. So they all go. I mean, they don't get tickets. So they get into this big car. Guru Swami, Guru Dutt, Abrar, they all go to Hyderabad. And on the way, the car has an accident because a buffalo runs into it. So it's being repaired and they're trying to keep them busy. So they, of course, meet Wahida in the process and all that happens. But the distributor is still at wit's end, ki how do we keep this man busy? He's so restless and he will say, मैं जा रहा हूँ, flight लेके चला जाऊँगा. He wants to keep him there. So he says, आपने कभी मुजरा देखा है? So he says, नहीं. And he says, चलो देखते हैं. So Abrar, he and the distributor go to this kotha and he's done his setting already. He's told that lady कि और किसी को अंदर नहीं छोड़ना, हम guest ला रहे हैं, बहुत बड़े guest हैं. So they go and sit down and the girl is sitting there to sing. And Abrar says, उन्होंने हम तीनों को देखा and she started singing, कभी यार कभी पार. And Guru Dutt was very disappointed. He says, नहीं हम ये नहीं सुनने आए हैं, we've come to listen to actual mujras. So she starts singing the mujra, And then suddenly, there's a knocking on the door and everybody is of course a little bit flabbergasted and the madam opens the door and a man in a shining yellow salwar kurta comes in, sits down there and looks at everybody because he's her regular. And he looks at them but then she says, Nacho. So she continues to sing, not Nacho, Gao. She sings and he keeps giving money. And Abrar is looking at him, at Guru Dutt, ki hum bhi kuch dein. He doesn't do anything, he sits. Then the man, getting even more excited, says, Abhi nacho. And the girl says no, the madam says no, he says nacho. So she gets up and there they discover she is almost 9 months pregnant. And that shocks Guru Dutt so much that he gets up, he puts whatever money he has in front of her and they both walk out. Now this song, as you all know, was already in Guru Dutt's hand. He had taken it from the book of poems and he was looking for he had told Abrar, I want to use it, and Abrar had not found a place to place that song. He says, when I came out, I was very disturbed and मुझे लगा यहाँ पे इस गाने को हम रख सकते हैं, and that is how the song fitted into it.
So, now, again, coming to the songs of his films, Nasreen ji, there is a very beautiful observation which you write, and I would just like to read that out. Music definitely being a very important and integral part of Guru Dutt's films, but he still says the use of a song within the narrative is considered to break the illusion of realism in cinema, is what Guru Dutt Sahab felt. He was well aware of this, and despite his great talent for song picturization, he often wrote of feeling constrained in having to include songs in his films because popular Hindi cinema does not see music and dance as separate from the storytelling and is entirely dependent on songs as essential ingredients. Skip, and he says, beyond considerations of language and space, the songs in Guru Dutt's works appear better integrated than in most Indian films. Though many critics and admirers have observed Guru Dutt's skill in this area, Majroo Sultan's analysis has a particular insight. Majroo Sultan Puriji's analysis has a particular insight. Guru Dutt looked out for two things in a song. The lyrics of a song should not have any opening music. And secondly, the song must not be dull. If a song has a long introductory note that leads to the first line of the song, the audience thinks to itself, okay, let's sit back, here comes a song. And we see this in so many of his films. So Shivendra, would you like to speak on that? About these songs, like, you know, where there is no opening music to his songs, whether it is, yeah, correct, Aji Dil Pe Hua Aisa Jadoo, you know, Jaane Wo Kaise Log The Jinke.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that is the way they conceived with dialogues, which was the scenes which were happening at that time. And that would transit into the song, almost like what they want to say is in the form of songs. And that was a very common feature. In fact, in not just in Guru Dutt films, but yeah, Raj Kapoor was completely that. So was Bimal Roy. The songs meant to take the scene into the next scene and the transition, and you would cut at that at very important point. It almost looks like that it's truly a musical in many ways. Where we have gone away now is the songs have nothing to do with the rest of the film. They're almost that you go to a music director and you just pick up. I think Guru Dutt was all about storytelling and narration, and he was very well aware when he was making all his films. So it was that. Sahab Beaver Ghulam is a great example. What about that beautiful song on the bed? Yeah. Meena Kumari. That's
it just breaks into the song. The scene just breaks into the song.
It is as if the two people are, it just talks about their relationship. Yeah, yeah. It's just an incredible, and one of the best picturized songs with almost, yeah. Agrees.
Agreed.
Yeah, Lassie, do you want to say?
Yes. It's time to wait a second for him to finish. Yeah. That's it? No.
In Calcutta.
It's also because we were running late.
Yeah, we are running late, no?
Almost 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's why we would have finished by now. It's long. Yeah. Okay.
Basically, we are running very late, so we were supposed to finish by this time, so I'm sure the festival people knew that. What actually Majru Saab said, which I just want to go back onto, he said that if you have opening music in a song, the audience knows the song is coming. So what he would do is there's a scene, say, in Mr. and Mrs. 55. Mr. and Mrs. 55 starts, and for about 10 to 15 seconds, Guru Dutt appears. Oh, have many of you seen Mr. and Mrs. 55? Can you put up your hands? Okay. So you remember that 15 minutes or so, Guru Dutt hasn't said one word. And the first time he speaks in the film is in answer to Johnny Walker, who says, "Arey, kahan the aap, abhi kya hua, or whatever, and he said, aji dil pe hua aisa jadoo. So the question really is that he pulled back all dialogue from the character of Pritam in Mr. and Miss 55 and let him answer in song. But if he had a long musical interlude, or rather an opening introduction, then everybody has lost the sense of surprise. Like we were talking, and the surprise was the azan. Now, if I said the azan is coming, everybody would sit back and expect it. The surprise was the fact that you didn't know. So Guru Dutt wanted to introduce the element of surprise. In Kagaz Ke Phool, it is completely there except for in one scene in which he is singing with Mala Sinha, Aap Ki Aankhon Mein, you know that one. Is Dil Ko
the dream song.
Yeah, the dream song. In that is very particular. He's created a dream set, and she comes down. There's a long opening music. So therefore, he's saying to you, this is not a reality. This is not a real song. This is not a scene. This is a dream sequence. So there you can see that Guru Dutt makes a distinction between Guru Dutt's son, Tarun Dutt, told me way back in the 80s, he passed away as well, and so did his second son, Arun Dutt, and he told me that if you miss a song in Guru Dutt, you've missed a scene, and he was absolutely right.
You missed the story going.
Yeah, the scene.
Yeah, in fact, in that song also, which we were just discussing, the song "Jaane wo kaise log the jinko." I mean, if you actually listen to the song without actually visualizing the song, you see that the person who's very depressed and there's a lot of pathos and he's singing it. But when you actually look at the song, you see a very amused and a person giving a very cocky attitude, you know, a carrot damn attitude. He has a twisted smile, and it's as if he is mocking. Yes, it's as if he is mocking the audience. Of course, Mala Sinha very superficially, and then everybody who is around there. So coming to that, Nasreen, I read in this book of yours, and that piqued my interest, where you write, the first of Guru Dutt's masterpieces, Pyasa, is a romantic melodrama set in Calcutta that tells of his thirst for love, the thirst for recognition, and this thirst for spiritual fulfillment. Can you elaborate on spiritual fulfillment, which you speak about in Pyasa?
Yes. Again, we're coming back to the two women, Gulabo and Meena. He is also thinking of Devdas. And Barua is obviously a very important influence on Guru Dutt. And Devdas' character was why Dilip Kumar said no, because he's working with Bimal Roy and Devdas. He says, I don't want to be another Devdas in your film. However, what is a spiritual plane? It is the opposite of a material. So therefore, if you strive towards a publisher, you strive for a better job or a bigger car, you're striving for material things. And when you strive for something spiritual, going back to what Shivendra said, you are searching for something. And you add that to Guru Dutt's own melancholy, is that I don't think he was a religious man, and he's not going to go off in the mountains. But I have to tell you something very strange. An American student, when they saw Pyasa, they see the last shot. The last shot is he comes to Gulabo and they walk away into the sunset. She said to me, oh, they've made a suicide pact. Now, isn't that extraordinary? Now, you see how the West have perceived that scene. But he could have been going off to the mountains. We don't know where he goes. And Abrar Sahab also said, when I interviewed him, he said, "Ye log kahan ja rahe hain? Nobody knows, or where can you go? Where can these two characters go?" So it is a spiritual departure that he has, that she's willing to go on that journey with him.
In fact, when he says, I'm going to go away, and they tell him that wherever you go, you have to fight back. And that's what Abrar says in your film. He says, I fought with him. I said, you cannot give up and go. You have to be there. You have to fight the fight. You have to win it. So I think that's something he's trying to say, that I'm not telling you where I'm going because you'll be there waiting for me. I'm going off to where you can't find me. I think that's very, very important, being said very quietly. Yeah.
Nasreen ji, while we were talking, you mentioned that Guru Dutt Sahab, through his films, he showed how secular he was. I would like you to elaborate upon that.
Well, you can see in all his films, there is no really mention about religion. In many films of the 50s, you will have a scene where the heroine is praying, and in Sahib Bibi Ghulam it is, but it's based on a book, really. But you won't have elaborate scenes in either in a mosque or a mandir. They won't be like that. And in fact, the symbolism in Pyasa is very close to Christianity. And everybody has recognized this. When there's the announcement, has everybody seen Pyasa? Well, majority have seen Pyasa, and you'll remember at the dining table when he reads the newspaper, Rahman reads the newspaper of the suicide, Mala Sinha is reading Life magazine, and she picks it up, and there is the portrait of Christ. And when I did my research, I found out that if I paid $250, I could use that still because it actually existed. And I found out from Murthy Sahaba that Guru Dutt used to get subscriptions for Life and various magazines. So he saw that cover. So you don't know which came first, the Life magazine or the scene. Sometimes you don't know anything really when it comes to making films. But basically, he did not believe, if you believe in spirituality, you're not believing in ritualism, ritual religion. You're not. If you believe in something that's a higher plane, that is a separate thing. None of his films, in Mr. and Mrs. 55, there's much more talk about being just a secular Indian, and you have Johnny Walker who says, where shall we go? To the registrar or to the church? And that's about it. So, I mean, he was not interested. I didn't seem to me to be interested in religion. I don't think so.
I think he also brought in all kinds of characters. In Arpar, for example, you have a Parsi, you have all kinds of people talking in their own tongues, and trying to say that, look, the world is a cosmopolitan place, and friends can be from any religion, any community. I think those were things that were slowly put in together. Maybe the 50s were like that. They were. Huh?
And also the other thing is in Pyasa, who is he saved by? He's saved by the Muslim. Abdul Sattar saves him. And then who does he go away with? Gulabo. So, I mean, he didn't start thinking, well, what religion are you? You know, these characters in the 50s, you see, if you see Raj Kapoor's work or Bimal Roy's work, there was a sense of community. And as you say, Sathya, that there was, the characters were from different places, and they were from different backgrounds. But many of the films of that era, the distinction is not as sharp as it has become in many ways, because the world is not the same. And I don't think you can really go back to that time. That time's over.
But talking of Raj Kapoor and Guru Dutt, I want to add this little aside that in Mr. In which film is this first Christian lady coming in? No, in Guru Dutt's film, where she says, she speaks, a Goan lady coming in, who speaks?
Jal.
Huh? So he says, no, there's another film where she comes and he says, उसमें जो बात करती है, Bobby तक चलते आया. The way they speak, you know, कि क्या बोलता है man, you know, that kind of thing, that dialogue which we, Arpar, that which we gave it there, continued all through and continues still today. You know, it became a stereotype of how they speak.
So we are running short on time, so yeah. Could you just bring down the lights for a clear view of the audience? Okay. Yeah, we'll come to the question. Just one last question to Shivendra before we throw it open to the house. Shivendra, you were doing a film on Guru Dutt Sahab. Apparently that didn't materialize. Yeah. Would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to make a film because Guru Dutt, like I said, Kagaz Ke Phool is a reflection. He is the only one you really feel, even though you admire many filmmakers from India, but his story itself was so fascinating. That search, he gives you that feeling that he's like an auteur, because like I said, Pyasa is almost, it's a self-portrait, according to me. It's something which he really believed in, made, and he inspired me to start searching for him. And in fact, when I started writing, there was Anuurag Kashyap and myself, we started writing, we also thought, now that it's pretty old now when we were working on it, we also thought about a filmmaker trying to make a film on Guru Dutt as a premise, because Guru Dutt just fascinated, and just the age in which he did that. We were young and we were thinking that 31, he finished Pyasa, and just imagine he passed away well before, you know, he didn't even reach 40s, you know. In fact, the interesting thing is all those great filmmakers of the 50s, Bimal Roy, Mehboob, all of them didn't even cross 60, you know. All of them died. That was the time. So they were all people who had seen life very early in their life. So I went about, first I grabbed Nasreen's book, because she's where everything began on Guru Dutt. And then of course I went and met the family, and what was incredible was that to me, making a film is never that important as much as the journey. I think the journey to meet everybody who was alive, whether it was Kumkum, whether it was Shama, whether it was Abrar Sahab, whether it was Guru Dutt's drivers, I knew all the cars he had, all the houses, the dogs. I went to each and every location of his, and various people who met him, and I had different versions and different stories. And it was a fascinating experience, which I've got, you know, I've got all that thing, it's lying with me. And you know, there was very little material, because an interesting thing which I want to tell you, that Guru Dutt was not thought of Guru Dutt. I mean, Lalita Lajmi, his sister, and I'm sure she told Nasreen or told you, that there was a time when she wanted to get, you know, Guru Dutt's mother had also written, she was a writer herself, she had written on Guru Dutt, and she had published it also. And yes, it's in Kannada. And Mr. Shyam Benegal is also a cousin, first cousin, yeah. In fact, one of my things in Calcutta, Nasreen, was that Mr. Shyam Benegal's elder brother, Sudarshan, is 10 years older than Shyam Benegal. And he and Guru Dutt were best of friends. And I did a walking trip with him, because he took me the routes they went together, to the parks, to catch Hilsa, to spend time, the Jatra, all. And I've documented that entire trip. With Mr. Sudarshan Benegal, I spent a week in going wherever the routes they did. And they were the best friends. And they walked everywhere. And Sudarshan Benegal was an art student. And in fact, he came to Bombay hoping to make it, and then he decided that this is not for him. And I spent that really valuable 1 week where I got to know so much about Guru Dutt and his influence of Calcutta, where he really found his roots, and the houses, he said, his relation with Benegal, you know, his uncle, who used to, and then when I got to restore Kalpana, Amla Shankar told me a very interesting story, that he used to put up posters, and he came as a young, he said he was wearing shorts, and he came for the press conference, and he was the only one who kept asking me questions, Mrs. Shankar, and all that. And then he came to Almora, and they took him, Uday Shankar and him, because he knew shorthand, and he could type. And he typed Kalpana, which Uday Shankar made. And that's when the first talent, he typed that script. And that's why he emerged as a choreographer and a thing. And I think that journey for me, the time I spent on Guru Dutt, is what I've enjoyed. I've always liked to do long films and I think more than the film, it was the research.
So in fact, it is said that there are too many, he would shoot reels, he would just set it aside, and they said, "नहीं ये ठीक नहीं हुआ," and
yeah, there were many films he would do. Like he did the first CinemaScope with his wife Gauri, which he shot, and then he went and did Kaagaz Ke Phool, which is the first CinemaScope film. Yeah. And I just want to end one thing. There is something in my life, I've never been able to complete anything on Guru Dutt. And I'm saying it because Nasreen will know, even if I want to show Guru Dutt, I can't show it.
So
there is something which I could never complete.
So one last question is, how do we take the enigma called Guru Dutt to the next generation? I mean, how do we get that interest? Say, I have two daughters, and I would love would love it if they would see Guru Dutt. But they just don't seem to have that interest. Yeah, Papa, black and white film. The next generation. Like we were talking, there's this very dear friend of mine in the audience, and we do a lot of musical biopics on different music directors. And when this song was remixed, Jhumka Gira Re, Bareilly ke Bazaar mein, and now Dhurendhar, which has, Na To Karwa, it's a beautiful song. Children are being able to relate to that, but they're not being able to relate to the original. So how can we take it ahead to the next generation?
I actually have an experience of this. I teach at NIFT, and I try to go much beyond fashion, because fashion, after all, is a byproduct of how we live and what we do. So I try to show them films. I try to tell them, read books, watch films, and I showed them Umrao Jaan. They managed to watch that with interest after the first. Then I showed them Anand. They watched that with interest. Then I started with Pyasa. I was leading them into Pyasa. And within the first 5 minutes, I could see phones coming out. I said, look, keep watching. It's just a slow beginning. It's a beautiful beginning. No. So what you're saying is right. But I think if we continued, if we show these films and we kind of lead them into it section by section, it would make a difference. Talk about it.
I think that actually, I agree with you, that the majority do not like old films, whether it's Hollywood or Indian cinema. Shivendra has been showing lots of old films to a huge audience that people come regularly. However, these people are cine lovers. Now, even I live mostly in London, and you will find world cinema. There used to be, up to the 80s and 90s, lots of films being shown. And now it's mainly the British Film Institute and very specific screenings. Cinema lovers will always love Guru Dutt. People who just consume films may not have the patience for it. And we have to accept that. And I frankly believe if you can't get people to like something, they will either come to it on their own, or they come to it because they are forced to. And that's not the way to love Guru Dutt or Orson Welles or Raj Kapoor or Mehboob Saab. That's not how you love them. So I believe you should let them come to it.
No, but my question is, if they don't see it, how do they know it's good or bad?
They have heard about it. They know the songs. The songs are the glue of Indian cinema. The songs, and they've seen them on Chitrahar and Doordarshan, on YouTube. They are 2 million, 3 million, 4 million hits and views for the old songs, even minor songs. And I will say the majority of films of the 50s are only remembered by their music and their songs. You are talking about 5 directors: Shantaram, Mehboob Saab, Guru Dutt, Bimal Roy, and Raj Kapoor. What about Kedar Sharma? What about Bhagwan? What about all the others? They're all gone in the memory of even all of us. So actually, when we talk about an era, we talk about very few people.
Yes, so I think we don't have too much time, but we'll just have enough time for a couple of questions.
Yeah, I have, sorry.
Can you have some lights on the audience, please?
My question is, what I've read, that after the super success of Pyasa, when Kaagaz Ke Phool flopped, Guru Dutt thought that he's unlucky. So in the subsequent movie, Chaudhary Ka Chand, the credit was given to M. Sadiq. Going further, in '62, when he made Sahib Bibi or Ghulam, the credit was given to Abrar Alvi and not to Guru Dutt. Is it true? Sorry, the other question is, Pyasa, the song Hum Aapki Aankhon Mein Is Dil Ko Basa De Tu, was not there, But the movie was getting so depressing, so Guru Dutt wanted a change to bring in a melody into it so that the depression goes. Is it true or not? Thank you.
Well, I can answer the first question because during his conversations, Abrar Sahab told me that the Sadiq story is true. Guru Dutt was on the sets. He says, I used to go there, but I had no role there, but he would call me, ki aa jao tum bhi. And he directed that film. But when it came to Sahib Bibi Ghulam, because he was, what Abrar Sahab had done was he had recorded the entire film in his own voice because he was going south. And Guru Dutt stopped him and said, first of all, get me Meena Kumari. So Abrar Sahab went with that spool of film and played it to Meena Kumari, who said, yes, I want to be Choti Bahu. So that is what the spool did. And the second, he said, I am not confident of playing this villager, and you will direct it. And he had tried him out in the past, made him direct a scene here and there by surprise. He says, you will direct it, but he did direct all the songs of the film. He stepped in and directed. And there's a beautiful story about how Na Jao Saiya was directed by Guru Dutt without Abrar Sahab knowing what he had done. He had set the scene and walked out because he said two people cannot stay in the studio, in the same studio, no two directors. You can't have two swords in one sheath. He walked out and he came back without knowing how the song has ended, and he continued it as one scene. There's a beautiful story there. Yeah, so the first instance is true, the second isn't.
And what about that dream sequence? The dream sequence?
I'm sorry, we don't, I honestly don't know if they inserted it later. I don't think so. I was told that they added the last scene when he comes to Gulabu and said, mere saath chaloge. That scene was added because the distributor said it's too depressing. But there was I had no record. And I believe in facts, not just hearsay. And the fact was that the distributor said it's depressing, so they added that scene when he comes and said, Chalo. And there was no set. So that is why that's shot. There's hardly anything in that set.
In fact, the song Sarjo Tera Chakraye, if you see, it is in the first 30 minutes of the movie only. To keep them busy. So he does not let that ethos settle in.
Okay. Sorry, was it my question or okay? You spoke about Majroo Saab saying that there should not be any prelude. It should take people by surprise. But the same Majroo Saab, while writing for Nasir Hussain, used to have very long interludes and totally unconnected with the main tune, especially, starting right from Teesri Manzil, maybe the entire Pancham. So I don't know whether it's a lyricist's call at all. I think, isn't it a director's call? I don't know.
I would say it's a combination.
Okay.
It's the composer who will compose the whole tune, including the introduction music. If the director likes it, it's the director who decides, yes, keep it, and don't. But even could have been S.D. Burman, could have done a lot of long introduction to even Guru Dutt songs, but then he'd say, Kato. But the director, even today, I've sat into composers and directors working, the composer wants to show his skill. He's going to write a big thing. And Nasir Saab liked that. He set the scene like that. And interestingly, when you say Nasir Saab, the most interesting thing about him is that how the Shami Kapoor songs are cut. Now, when I interviewed Shami Kapoor, I asked him, the way you cut, the way the song is cut is very intriguing. Why is it like that? And he said he loved the question because he said people did not know that when the cut should happen musically, he would jump out of the screen. He would jump here, so they had to cut because he wasn't there. So you see, the actor is then determining editing. So I think everybody, whether it's the director, composer, lyricist, actor, even in Guru Dutt's case, some light boys will say, ye gana acha nahi hai, ye acha nahi hai. Everybody has something to say. However, when you talk of an author, as the French do, when you talk of an author of a film, it is the person who says, I keep that. That is the boss. You could propose anything to a director. You can go to Karan Johar today or Anuurag Kashyap and propose everything. He'll say, go ahead, do it all. But in the end, it's he who calls the shots. And so Guru Dutt had a very unified way of cutting. Look at his editing. Look at Shami Kapoor's songs. You'll see how the pattern. And Shami Kapoor determined cuts.
I'm sorry, but
I think we'll have to wrap it up here. So, hi.
Yes. Sorry, this is all we have time for.
Thank you so much, Nasreen. Thank you so much, Shivendra. Thank you so much, Sathya. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the delegates for giving such an interesting session on Guru Dutt and Indian film. I'm sure everyone had a lot of questions, but unfortunately we have to cut the time as we have to prepare for the musical performance which is going to happen later in the evening. We still have other sessions going on in the Kalam lawns. We have Barbara Kingsolver speaking right now, and also Amitabh Ghosh at 6:10. So if you want to hang around for that, please do so. And we'll be finishing the evening off at 7:15 with a musical performance by Rupam Islam. So thank you for attending, and thank you for coming to the Kalam Hub, and wish you a great rest of your evening. Thank you.